Hello everybody, welcome to Frame Trap. I will be your host today, Ben Moore, and I am joined by Michael Huber.
Yo.
And Brad Ellis.
Yo.
Da boys.
The boys, yep.
Da boys. Yeah, these are always, I always look forward to these episodes. Just because like you guys are really fun to, I don't know, they just feel a little bit looser in a good way.
Okay, you could say it. We're the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
There you go.
We're the best.
We're the
Just
best.
the best. Yep. So we're kind of like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic, which is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting vaccinated, and so I you know, you don't have to like act on this, of course, like be safe and all that stuff. But now that we're getting to the end of this pandemic, what is like the number one thing you're excited about? What's at the forefront of your mind once you can get out there and experience things somewhat normally?
I'm excited just to honestly go back to the office with you guys.
Yeah.
And hang out and talk like we used to, playing games on the couch together, you know?
It's a different energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Dodger games for me.
There you go.
Season just started up. Got fans in the stadiums, limited capacity, but the season goes all the way till October, so at some point, hopefully.
You know, Huber, I was just going to say that you have something that like I don't understand because I don't follow any sports at all. And I was like, man, I wonder what that's like being invested in a sports team. But then I'm like, well, it's probably how I feel about like fighting game tournaments and how I get invested. Like it can't be that different.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. You've find someone you really like or relate to, and you just love their energy and vibe, and just root for them for sure.
I've said movies, I've said concerts, but something that I was thinking about today, I was like, man, I just miss like going out to eat. Like
being
it was
somewhere.
Yeah. I think me and my wife have just spent so much time in our apartment that like it would be nice to like just get out there and enjoy food. I don't know. It's just like it gets you away from things, and I think you can just have like some nice chill conversation. Good change of scenery. It's simple, you know. It's the simple things.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I really want to see Black Widow, but I know no matter what, even after I'm vaccinated fully, a movie theater is gonna feel weird.
I know. That's the thing.
It's gonna be so weird. It's gonna be.
I've thought about that too, Huber. Where like, even when it's like. Okay, is it gonna feel the same? Like, you
just gotta take the leap, man. You're gonna have to take
after a certain amount of time, I'm sure it'll eventually get back to normal. But I feel like those early things we do, like right after vaccinations, are gonna be just a little weird.
Yeah,
man, I'm gonna be pissed I have to go back to a movie theater, dude, to see something. Like, fuck.
I was really like adamant about being bummed that I didn't see Godzilla vs. Kong in the theater. I saw it at home on HBO Max, and now that I've done it, I'm like, actually, this is kind of nice. Like just watching it whenever you want.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. Yeah,
it's great having the options.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
like I totally understand the vibe. Like seeing Kong, and Godzilla in the theater, like that's the way to do it. You know?
Yeah. Isn't
you would have felt this in your chest.
Yeah, you would feel it in your chest. Yeah.
Isn't Black Widow also Disney Plus now in July?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude,
probably $30 bucks,
dude.
So
$30.
I guess that's like 2 tickets for a movie almost. Around here at least.
Shit. Totally. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess like Halloween will be. That's my goal. The Halloween in the theater. Halloween kills.
I love.
Let's go.
Going to a movie and spending like more on basic concessions than you do the actual ticket.
Yeah. Gotta get that. Gotta get that icy, dude.
Halloween sequel, dude. That's an icy popcorn.
Yeah,
you guys do the ices, huh? I might have to do that.
Icy. Icy is like my favorite theater joint. Isn't that Don's go-to also?
It is.
Man, I'm simple. I just like it. I can't go to a movie in the theater and not get popcorn. Like it just feels wrong.
Oh, I get it. Yeah,
and a Coke, but
sure, ice Coke.
Yeah. Huber, Brad, and myself, it's nice because we've actually all spent a fair bit of time in this game. It's kind of the hotness of right now. Huber, you've obviously spent the most, and that is Outriders. And I have strange feelings about this game. But before I get into that, I want to know kind of what you guys think.
Rough around the edges, but so great. So great. Really just love the core combat. Just solo or with friends. Either way, just as fun. When you get people in there, obviously it really starts to sing and you can synergize and just get nuts. But solo as well, just as fun. Really good enemy variety. I love that like they're constantly throwing humans and monsters just kind of all at you all the time. New variations of that. And just the journey to max level and how your capabilities change just not only with skills and class points, but weapons and mods. Just like giving you a really good weapon, but it's a sniper rifle. I don't usually use these, but it's way better than what I have, so I'm gonna use it. And then just like finding all the mods. Like I am obsessed with mods in this game. It is so fun. Every single time you dismantle a new mod, you add it to your collection. And then when you see the weaponsmith, the doctor, you can swap in any of those weapon mods. But the beauty of it is when you find a gun, say you find a gun that has 2 mods on it, you can only swap one of those. The one you swap, it will lock into place the other one. So there's still that hope and that like slot machine dopamine rush of getting that perfect loot drop. Because then you can, you get a good mod and then you mod the other one. So just super, super addicting and fun.
Yeah, how freeform the modding system is really nice, and how much you can get in there and tinker and like. I also love how limited you are, and I say this is a positive with your abilities. You can only have 3 active abilities at a time.
Yeah,
and I've definitely found situations where it's like, I wish I had this mod equipped in this situation, but when I'm fighting against a boss, I want these. And so it's doing exactly the thing that you want this kind of like RPG loot-driven thing to do, is making you feel like, which direction am I going? And like, not just like sticking on a path and then being like content for the rest of the game. Like you're constantly have this doubt in the back of your mind. You're constantly want to experiment. And you're limited enough that I think the game gives you reason to do that. Not only with the skills, but then the gear and the mods that modify the skills. And it's just a nice, it's nice feeling encouraged to get out of your comfort zone.
Totally. Yeah, the class skill points as well. There's like 3 tiers per class. So there's like 4 classes, and then each of the classes is like three sections or whatever that you can like kind of subclass. There's only 20 skill points you can get, which initially I was like, I kind of would want more to kind of like mix and match and really experiment with the builds. Like, you kind of have to, from what I could tell and have experimented with, mainly with Devastator. I've played a little bit of Trickster and more of the Technomancer, kind of like throwing turrets out there and stuff. But just with the Devastator, like the specs, it's like, all right, I can spec more shotgun damage, which is always cool, sure. But then the other one is like you can spec defense, and then the other one is like, all right, spec your power strength. I would have liked a little more variety there that really shook up the class itself. But I think because of, like you were saying, Ben, with just having a few skills and all the mods and stuff, it is kind of a nice balance, not too overwhelming. So maybe that would have just overwhelmed, I think.
I think it's kind of cool that you have to sort of commit down a path, right?
Because it's a commitment. Everything. It's a commitment, totally.
And I think what also kind of alleviates it is you could respec at any time. So if you're not happy with what you've got, you can change it around. And
it was cool at the very end. Like I got my full tank as like the Warden, I think, all the way maxed. And then I had a few points left over. So I just put him in like damage. So there was like a tiny bit of like my signature on the build.
Nice.
But not too much.
So I've been playing a trickster, and the way that you said it, Huber, you said core combat is really where this game shines, and I totally agree. I really love the design of this combat, where it is a shooter that has cover, but it's not really a cover-based shooter, at least for me, because the way that it works is I'm encouraged to get in the face of everything. And it's like combat is so fast and smooth and frenetic. And like I have a teleport ability. I go behind somebody. I have a cyclone move where I can get in somebody's face and deal with a bunch of enemies at once. And I get health back if I'm close to somebody. And so you have these situations where like fodder is kind of like your potion, where you might be fighting a dude that is a little bit tankier. And so you want to be like, okay, I want to leave like some of these smaller guys around so I can get health back. But it is a very aggressive sort of split second combat that I think is extremely satisfying. I don't know how anyone doesn't use an auto shotgun in this game.
So fun.
Like, it's like my build is spec for it, but just like melting somebody with an auto shotgun has been one of the most satisfying things.
I'm really impressed with the AI in this game. I freaking love it. It's mainly just because of the enemy variety. Each enemy really like fulfills its role. You know, the breachers aren't smart, but they're just gonna run up on you with a shotgun and try to fish you out. Snipers are so brutal in this game, like legendary snipers
are really
now.
Annoying. Yes.
Holy shit. They can stun lock you, like lock you down. They can launch artillery strikes. And the best part is when you try to rush them, which is so fun because like they'll be in the back of the battlefield. I love it.
Yeah.
They'll be dug in back there. They'll have all these enemies up front guarding them. I'm a devastator, so I'll just like rock form up, sprint all the way, like I'm coming for you, snipers. I'll get all the way back there. As soon as I'm back there, they'll freaking like jump off, dude, and like run away to try to reposition. So I just love how in the moment the AI is, dude. I just really like even just basic troopers will, as soon as you're camping, they'll throw grenades at you. They'll use cover. Like, they'll know I'm aiming right at them. They just won't pop up. Super good.
Along with that, I love how much this game really emphasizes cooldown management. And that sounds like kind of boring, but it's super not, because, again, since you only have 3 abilities, deciding when to use them is so essential. And reloading also, like, reloading at the wrong time could really fuck you up in this game.
Because they can stun you and you have to do it again.
Yeah. Depending on the makeup of the enemies, you know, sometimes if you're fighting a super big enemy, you want to make sure you have like all your cooldowns for that enemy. Or like if you have like a couple of medium enemies, you want to use maybe one cooldown, but not everything. And just that sort of decision making, I think, keeps the core combat relatively engaging.
Yeah.
What I would say though, Huber, is like I remember getting into Outriders and I was having a really good time with it, and I was like addicted, and I just wanted to I kept wanting to play more. And now I've reached a point, and I'm not even through the campaign yet, where I'm like, I'm losing interest in this. And I agree that the core combat is really good. The problem that I'm running into is like, regardless of where I am, everything is kind of feeling the same. It's like every area you're in, it's kind of like a narrow corridor to a more open battlefield, to a narrow corridor to a more open battlefield. And it just feels like the same thing over and over again. And of course I want them to emphasize the core combat, but there's like no exploration. Like they really don't make the environments matter all that much. They're definitely like, I think of the like World War I trenches area where everything was assaulting you. Like that was pretty cool, but I feel like moments like that are so rare. And the story, I think the world is really interesting. Like I love the some of the ideas that they've got going on, but the way that they deliver the story, like some lines are just so awkward or abrupt that it like it struggles, I think, to keep you invested based on how it's telling its story.
It's the presentation.
Yeah.
It's so subpar. There's missing audio. There's shaky cam. You can adjust, but then it'll like kind of made my other cutscenes jitter.
There's cutscenes where you just like open a door and it's like 2 seconds long.
Those weird transitions.
Yeah. I don't know why they even do those.
They said that was because it's a multiplayer game, so it like is a thing to group everyone up or whatever, I guess was their excuse for it. Okay. But yeah, just little inconsistencies throughout. And like you were saying, Ben, I love the lore. I got obsessed with the lore. I read every single one of these documents. I thought they were really well written. They're obviously dry. They're a bit long. They could have used some like cool designs, you know, like I love in Resident Evil, you pick up a document, you can kind of like see what type of document it is. Not this. It's just all like white text. But the presentation is like the Cliff Notes, Spark Notes version of the story. You'll pick up a document and your character will summarize it in a sentence. But if you read it, it gives you so much cool lore. I call it the Expanse cut because it reminds me of The Expanse. Just little things that are not even mentioned in the game. If you go through and watch every cutscene, things that aren't mentioned that I loved were like the 3-ticket system, which is how do you incentivize Earth's population that's dying to build a spaceship to leave if they're not going to get a seat on the ship? Well, the government was like, okay, let's have 3-ticket system. Gold ticket, you're guaranteed a seat. Silver ticket, if someone on the gold ticket dies or disappears, you get their spot. So what went down? A shitload of murder and kidnapping and ransom. Then there was like the bronze tier, which is for like the basic workers. And it was like they get to enter a lotto to get a spot. Little did everyone know this was all manipulated by like the top government people, of course. And it's like, dude, I love that stuff. I love that kind of lore. And that's just nowhere to be found in the main campaign. It's all just basic. Let's go, Outriders. We're going to find that signal. Release the pod. Like, there's so much cool character stuff that is just not explored.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to have, like, supplemental lore, like notes or audio recordings or whatever. But it feels like they lean on that stuff so much, and there's like there's really not great ways of interacting with the world beyond like, again, the core combat. And I just wish there was like something else, because there's these quests that you can do where this character is like trying to preserve the history of the old world, and you'll bring her back stuff and she'll talk about it. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And it is really interesting, but the way that you do it is the same way that you do everything else in the game. Is like you just run out there and if you go into the grinder, right? And you just cleave through enemies, and then like if that thing is there, you pick it up. And yeah, exactly like you're saying, Huber. I think there are cool ideas here. It's just they don't present it in a way that makes it really come to life.
I feel like when you're exploring a level, you don't get a lot of moments to breathe or get a good sense of the world, because it's just like they want to keep you moving the whole time.
Yeah.
And forcing you into fights. So I think that's fine, but I wish there's just kind of moments in between where you're like just really absorbing this world, doing something more like monotonous almost, like just exploring through this area, going through this ancient area. You kind of do a little, but it's just like firefight immediately.
It's
you walk 30 seconds, you're in another fight. You walk 30 seconds, you're in another fight.
It's all those documents. That's the world.
That's where it all is, yeah.
But, dude, like, I read all that shit and was, like, so into it, but, like, that's a lot to ask. Yeah. It's so...
I definitely hit that point in Outriders.
It's so much.
Where I was reading it. And then I was like, this is too much. This is too much. You know?
It's too much, and it's directly at odds with the type of game it is.
Exactly.
Of like loot farming, level up, get the gear, let's go.
Yeah.
And especially if you get another friend in there, like it's so hard to coordinate multiple people, like taking the time to read all that stuff. Like it's just so at odds with the entire design of the game.
Yeah, completely. And it makes me think of and really appreciate Destiny, because Destiny, of course, is a lot of the same thing. These games are built on repetition, which is not bad. But I think of the moments of Destiny where like you have this platforming puzzle, or like you go to a new planet and you're just kind of in awe of the visual variety, and
some cool puzzles.
Yeah,
dude. Destiny throws in puzzles.
Yeah, I just feel like there's an active attempt to kind of make you engage with the world in slightly different ways, and that
I feel like I haven't played like a lot of Destiny in a long time, so correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it felt like the areas you went to in Destiny were much larger. Like you got like a sense of exploration almost.
Yeah, the way that they do it is like you'll land somewhere and it's like, okay, you can go do all of these activities, and then once you get to a specific activity, it gets like a little bit more closed, but
right.
Like, the dungeons and stuff that you're doing are pretty creative.
It kind of feels like this is all kind of closed.
Yes, exactly. The most they give you, and like it gets increasingly kind of aggravating, I feel like, the more you play the game in Outriders, is it's like, oh, if you go off this like little tiny path, there might be like a chest that you could open. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like Avengers to me, where I was also similarly like over the sort of copy and paste exploration.
I will say though, like the first half is way slower than the back half, so I did appreciate that. Like when you get to the forest, the game transforms, which I really appreciated. Like, the environments do get bigger. It is still kind of the same, like, basic layout of like, okay, well, there's only like 1 or 2 ways to go here. And that's obviously the area for the monster hunt and the area for the history lady. But they are big enough as to where, like, maybe just because the map is bad, though, too, where I would kind of get lost and kind of have to, like, where am I? Am I over here? Am I over here? I just thought the later environments were so much better. The beginning is just like
more appealing visually.
The beginning is just like low rent Mad Max and like it's snow.
It's pretty much
like,
just mud.
Mud, dude. And the later ones are like fucking somber tapestries and scorned vibes and
they get better.
Cool forest and
How
is the cool survivor, like no spoilers, but like the people that you meet in the forest are really cool. That whole plot line. That's like the turning point where I got really invested in the game.
How is the end game?
So I haven't done too much of it because
this is a big problem with the game right now.
Big problem. Well, Jesus, where do we begin, Ben? Okay. First of all, let's address the bugs and the current state of Outriders right now. Not good. This is a game that is threatening to delete your progress. At this point in time, for days now, this has been multiple days, the last 4 or 5 days, widespread reports of players solo and or co-op completely losing all of their gear. 50 to 100 hours progress.
I would down be the devastated.
Tubes. Down the tubes. Widespread. This is not some isolated incident. This is humongous, blown up, all the websites, Reddit, dude, so many people everywhere. I've seen it go down. So the last bunch of days, I've been afraid. I keep telling Brad, like, yo, let's play tonight. Maybe let's hold off a day until they fix this. Yep. Because they brought an emergency patch up that was supposed to alleviate it. Well, it made things worse. Because that patch... So the patch was supposed to fix crossplay, which has been busted. Which is unfortunate. Also really awesome. PC, Xbox, PlayStation. We can all play together.
In theory, you can all play.
In theory, that has, as of now, been quote-unquote fixed. I've had success. A lot of people reporting success. That's mostly fixed. Cool. But now the gear wipe bug is deadly. So I'm kind of holding off. I have ran a couple endgame stuffs. It's time-based, DPS-based. So non-DPS classes are having a hard time grouping up, getting kicked from groups. Toxic matchmaking has formed. Granted, it's only a 3-player game, 3 players max, so it is a little easier to group up with your own personal group of friends. You know, having to rely on strangers in any online game always poses its own set of problems, but this seems like a design flaw where the entire endgame is built around speedruns and DPS. How is that
That's
good
a bad
for...
idea.
Yeah, that seems...
Classes like yours that are focused on defense and stuff.
Yeah. There needs to be more... It needs to be more dangerous, maybe, to incentivize having a tank in there. I don't know. But...
Like, I think it's okay to have some speedrun stuff, but it cannot just be that. I think that's a bad idea.
Brad. Good call. Yeah, there needs to be something else or something, because the whole design right now, Ben, seems a little flawed. And basically, if you're a little confused, the end game basically is you go on expeditions, and they're time-based, and depending on how quickly you finish them, you get ranked, gold, silver, bronze, and then I think there's like even worse than bronze. And depending on the rank you get, the possibility and amount of rewards go up. Basically, the only way to get legendary gear is to get gold on these expeditions. If you even get silver, your legendary drop rate goes down like 100%. It's crazy. So you need gold runs. And then also to incentivize, which is the really cool thing, I love this, if you get all the way through the end game to the very end, there is a final boss. So there is an ending, quote unquote, to the end game, which is cool. So you're incentivized to kind of gear all the way up to get there.
I have a question. So these expeditions, are they new? Like areas, levels? Or are they places you've been before and you're kind of retreading the same ground?
It's mostly retreading. It looks the same, remixed kind of enemies and compositions, but it does look similar. If anything, Brad, like the aesthetic is the same, but maybe kind of the cover and stuff is different. I need to
like to compare this game to Destiny again because it's inevitable. But at least I liked about Destiny was those strikes kind of felt like separate instances almost.
Yeah,
you know,
of
with
course,
its own bosses and things like that. Like I haven't done any of this, but for what you're telling me here, that doesn't sound very appealing to me right now.
It's you know, I've only played Trickster in the final release of the game, and in a way, the design of the expeditions to me kind of makes sense because combat is intentionally fast paced, and so trying to maximize it in a way that makes sense. I get, and it reminds me of like Diablo 3 Greater Rifts. But the thing is, in Diablo 3, I feel like regardless of the class that you're playing, the goal is to melt things as quickly as possible. And so if you're trying to encourage like specifically other types of classes that maybe that isn't their primary goal, or they accelerate in a different thing, it does sound, you know, at least on paper, awkward in a way that you're describing. And it shouldn't be like you have to only play this or you get kicked. Like, that sucks.
Devastator, don't get me wrong, I can't die. You cannot kill me. You cannot kill me in Outriders. I will not die. And if I die, I can even revive because I get like an extra. It's nuts. My armor is like 50,000. I legit, my favorite description of a tank in a game is Outriders, so thank you. It's like Devastator, close range combat, stand your ground. And legitimately, I'll pop the rock shield and I'll just stand there right in front of an enemy. So don't get me wrong, I can't die, but like my damage can't keep up with obviously the melty classes. And that is, you know, at odds with the whole point of kind of the end game.
Yeah.
If it was just like cool boss fights, that'd be perfect. Cause like, yo, I'll cover everyone. You guys do the damage. I'll tank it. Let's go. But these like weird speedruns, I don't know. Maybe they'll balance it. I mean, they already, Ben, are nerfing the Trickster considerably, which has already caused outrage amongst the community.
That's pretty do what you gotta do. But goddamn, the Trickster's fun, man.
Like, it's so. I know. Like what? Like they're clearly like the most popular and maybe do like ridiculous amounts of damage. But like nerfing one of the most fun parts about the game right away. While there were so many problems, maybe wasn't the best idea. So I don't know.
Yeah, I really have fun with the Trickster. When you say it's OP, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like that definitely.
It doesn't even.
Yeah, but
it doesn't even matter. It's not OP. It just does a shit ton of damage.
Well, I just think, like you said, rough around the edges. In this current state of the game, I think hearing about nerfs is just kind of a bummer. Like if the game had maybe been around a little bit longer, was in a more robust state, I think it would be an easier pill to swallow. But considering where we are,
let me pose a very serious question. We've brought up Destiny numerous times.
Yeah.
They have so many times said, my God, this is not Destiny.
Yes.
We have elements of Destiny. Please, we are not. They've said a million times, but we keep saying, Destiny. Is there a responsibility for the end game to be this like groundbreaking, excellent thing, or is like a fulfilling 25-30 hour campaign enough?
I don't think it needs to be groundbreaking or anything, but from what you're telling me off these expeditions, it's just weird, like why they did it this specific way. Yeah. So for this game, I think it immediately invalidates Huber's class, which sucks.
Yeah,
it sounds and it's happening. People are just getting kicked. I think it would have been way smarter. Yes, you could have speedrun kind of challenges, but I think it would have been better if there was different. You could do this challenge, but with different difficulty tiers. So you got your easy, hard, normal, whatever. You get the better loot, but you could also have a time limit in there to keep some sort of pressure on the players, and not just getting like this. Hey, beat it under 2 minutes or beat it under 5 minutes to get like depending on your tier. Yeah. I think that would have made your class a lot more desirable.
Yeah, and Brad, I realized too. Like I praise the fact that so much of this game can be played solo, and I get that like expeditions are geared towards multiplayer, but if your whole game is geared solo and then you get into these expeditions and you can't really do them solo, like that seems weird.
Sure. Is there not another thing you could do solo?
Not for really not really endgame, no. And like you can do an expedition solo, but like the second you go down, it's over. There's no like self-reviving, your teammate reviving you. Like you're at a insurmountably massive disadvantage. So it is weird to be able to play the entire game solo and then all of a sudden like having that reliance on others. I mean, it is a multiplayer game, but just another weird thing about Outriders.
I don't think it has anything to do with Destiny or games as a service. I think it is that like this is the genre that Outriders chose to step in. I mean, it's basically an ARPG, and I think any ARPG, whether it's live service or not, the expectation, like if your fundamental design is built around getting on the treadmill, I think people want that to remain interesting for as long as possible. It's more about critiquing, I think, the expectations of the genre and what has come before. And there's a bunch of things that you could point to.
Totally.
I do think it's a bummer. I don't understand any reason why this game needs to be always online. I've only played solo.
They said that the reason for that was because of how much loot and all that, like for drops, it's all back end internet needs, algorithm numbers, like when a thing drops, I don't know, man. That was their reason, but yeah, totally.
Something I do want to say as a point of praise that we haven't brought up that I definitely think is worth mentioning. I really love the world tier system so much. Because we've been playing Diablo 3 recently, and it's so annoying in Diablo 3, like trying to find that perfect balance of difficulty for what you want in the moment, and we were constantly fiddling with it and fussing with it. And I love how natural it feels in Outriders, where like as you do well and as you perform, you raised in world tier where things get more difficult, but you get better rewards. But if you die, it goes down a little bit. And so it's like trying to keep you in a spot that feels good without you really having to do all that much, which I think is really, really, really smart. It's like trying to keep you on your toes all the time.
Totally. High stakes, dying sucks. You start getting to world tier 11, 12. That progress bar moves so slow, and you die, you lose a pretty big chunk. That's like multiple encounters that you fought through, gone. So the stakes are really high there, and it's just another thing to keep track of dopamine-wise. You know, you're leveling up, you're leveling up the world tier, you're getting drops, you're getting mods, you're getting skill, just another thing. And like you were saying, Ben, just the perfect balance of difficulty for the entire game. It's always white knuckle, controller sweating. Brad and I, dude, that stream, how many times were we saying our hands are hurting?
Yeah.
Like, well, because we were shooting for like 6 hours.
Yeah,
just so much.
The white knuckle, it's a good way to describe it. And I really think that is combat, like in the midst of a firefight is really where the game is at its absolute peak for sure.
Yeah. And I like interrupts. I think they can do a little more with interrupts. Interrupts are cool. Enemies will start casting a thing, and if you use an interrupt skill while they're casting, you can disrupt their ability. Yeah. They can do like heals and different AoEs and stuff. Some of the later ones are crazy. They'll like cast heals on everyone.
It's a cool idea.
It just doesn't go all the way in, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I just feel like, because they have this thing where, like, isn't it where the more you interrupt them, they become like immune to interrupts?
So if you interrupt them too many times, they're immune to interrupts.
I don't think that's a good way of handling it.
It kind of makes sense, because if you have... I got into a situation where I had like freeze rounds, and I was just shooting him. He would freeze, unfreeze, freeze, unfreeze, you know, where it was just you can just freeze forever, and then eventually he was immune, so he couldn't be frozen. So I was like, okay, I get it. I get that.
Yeah, I get from that perspective, then that's a really good example that you use. I totally get it. I think just from my perspective, I love the idea of like, oh, hey, the player recognized that the enemy is doing this thing. You activated your ability to stop that. Like, that's good behavior. You should be rewarded for that.
Totally. It's just when the weapon mods start doing it too.
The freeze round thing, it makes sense where it's like, okay, if you have it designed that way, the enemy can never do anything. So yeah, that makes sense. I still feel like that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I agree.
But
did you get to use Storm Whip?
Whip.
The weapon mod. It's like lightning comes down.
No, I had one that was like an explosion. Yeah, that's been good.
One of my favorite things in 2021, auto shotgun was Storm Whip, dude.
Was it like chain lightning?
The way you say whip is really appealing.
It's like the noise it makes, the damage it does, the way it looks. It's
that's cool.
Freaking satisfying. Everyone out there, if you've got Storm Whip, put it on a mod right now and go have some fun.
Speaking of having fun, Brad, you've been digging into Okami.
Yeah. I played Okami when it came out back in 2006, man. Mm-hmm. You know, Okami, if you don't know, came out like 2006, I believe, or maybe 5, something like that. I think it was 5 or 6.
Man,
if
Brad,
you don't know, go ahead.
This game is like a white whale for me, where I've played it multiple times and I've played like a big chunk of it and I adore it. I've just never, for one reason or another, been able to go all the way through it, even though like I recognize how amazing it is. Yeah. Except for the slow intro, but yeah,
it does have a slow
intro. It's just things
yeah.
coming up, and getting distracted.
But if you don't know what it is, it's like a it's like a Zelda game almost in its design, except you play as a wolf, the god of the sun, Amaterasu. You go around through different regions, help people out, do like some light dungeons, and get some upgrades. It follows the Zelda formula. Yeah, but of course, everyone knows it's beautiful art style that just is gorgeous. I've been playing the HD version, which is in 4K, like 30 or I'm not sure what the frame is, maybe 60, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah, the last time I played Okami was on PC last year, and it like you can't. This is truly no hyperbole. One of the greatest looking video games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It is just aesthetically astounding.
Yeah,
and it's funny that we're talking about this after Outriders because I feel like Okami goes out of its way pretty much every situation you're in to throw something at you that you're just like this is beautiful.
Well, I mean, not only is it like visually good, I think the game has a really great diverse cast in the sense of like weird people with a lot of personality that you come across.
Oh my god.
Like
yeah,
Mr.
Right, you mentioned
Orange.
the like it following the Zelda template, and that's something people always say about Okami, but like straight up this game has a better, more entertaining cast than many Zelda games, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it does a lot of the smart things that work in Zelda's, like having a companion character soon that kind of just speaks for you as your character, and he's filled with a ton of personality, but it's like so weird, man. Like, I recently went to an inn run by like sparrows, and they almost reminded me of like Yakuza. They have like a sparrow boss who has like an eye patch almost. Like, oh, this is really good stuff. I would say though, so far the biggest thing I'm noticing that I think it doesn't hold up so well is the camera a lot in this game, specifically in combat. Like when you get in combat, you kind of like enter a combat arena almost. Like you're trapped in there and you have to fight dudes, but it's like camera's not the best all the time. Like it is a PS2 game, and I understand that, but I think it could use a little tightening up.
Yeah, Brad, I think that is totally fair. In fact, that's something, talking about criticisms of the game, I think that's one of my biggest criticisms is combat. I think combat actually does a lot right, and it's cool that you get different weapons, and using the ink to slice through enemies is extremely satisfying, and there's a very distinct feeling because of the ink brush to the combat, but the fact that it's like in this tiny cage
right, you feel is pretty limited.
Yeah, you do. You feel restricted in a way that I don't think is incredibly beneficial. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think it like the boss fights, like for your quote-unquote dungeons are much better.
Yeah.
They're much
really
bigger
cool
arenas. I think they make good use of your brush powers that you kind of get, like how, a Zelda game, you'd get an item and you'd use it on that boss. It kind of works like this in this game too. Like, I got a power where I could grab onto plants and pull stuff. So I fought a spider boss and you use that on a spider to pull things apart and hit his eyes. So yeah, it's really good. I've beaten the game, or I beat it when it came out, but it's been a long time since I really went through the game. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm probably like 8 hours in right now. And I think it's a really special game that I'm bummed that we are not getting more of it. We did get a DS sequel for the game. I never played it actually, but it's a Kamiya game, and I feel like a lot of his games are underrated and don't do as well as they should. It's made me sad playing this game because I think this game, it's a really great game, and we'll never get another one from him like that.
Yeah, man, it's something that when I initially played Okami, I think that the slow opening,
it's
really
very
turned me off.
Rough. I could see it being really rough for a lot of people. But
there was eventually a point where the game clicked, and I feel like every time I revisit it, I have a deeper appreciation for it. And like, I straight up think it's like a masterpiece. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Brad. You mentioned that boss fight. It's just so visually spectacular, and it feels really, really good. The characters are so colorful and fun to interact with. But also just the way the world is designed is really appealing. Like, it's kind of one of those games where you wander around and there's like kind of so much to uncover or pick at and explore. And it doesn't feel too open where it's like kind of overwhelming. But like it's fun just kind of running around in that game. And I think your character moves fast enough that it really facilitates kind of that desire to explore.
Yeah, I think you're right. I definitely like the areas you go to are big enough. There's zones, but they're not, like you said, humongous where it's like just one huge open, like Final Fantasy 15 kind of map. It's like divided into very specific areas, but I think they're all distinct enough, and there's actually reasons to go around and explore. Like you could find an NPC to help out there and do some sort of a small quest or something like that, or get some bounties to kill some demons or stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm gonna keep trucking away on it. I'm having a blast playing it. It's been a real pleasure and soothing experience, and if you haven't played it out there, I highly recommend it. It's like $20 or something.
Yeah, man, Brad, you're making me really jealous because I have things that I'm playing that I can't even talk about.
Right.
So now is not a good time, but it's one that I want to return to again because I agree with you so much.
Like, I'm striking now.
Yeah,
I have to do it now.
Yeah, you're making a good call. I want to just touch on the brush a little bit more. I mentioned it with combat, but the way it's done with the puzzles is really great too. Yeah. Because like it's this game is so brilliant because it's like it makes the entire world a puzzle, right? Like there'll be times where you'll have to be like, oh, okay, I need to like pull up the brush and then see the environment in a certain way and like connect it in a certain way with the brush to solve something. And I just think that's so creative.
Yeah, like a lot of simple stuff, like even just I drew the sun in the sky and it reflected light off a beam and like activated something. I'm like, oh, that's just felt cool and like interactive with it. Well, there's one part there's tapestries hanging and I used the wind to like blow them up so I could jump across them.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it work well, Ben, is the brush is that it's super fast.
Yeah.
And it's not like overly cumbersome to do something.
No.
Everything is simple enough and makes sense.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things, and it does happen every once in a while where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I drew that shape, but the game's not recognizing it. And so it's not perfect, but I would say for the most part, the motions that you're doing are designed in a way where it's simple enough to not become aggravating. You said it perfectly, Brad. It's quick. Yeah.
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 You know, it's like you're drawing a circle for the sun. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but as long as it's like semi-decent, it'll get it most of the time.
And I was playing it on PC with an Xbox One controller, and I was like, do I want to play like the Wii version or the PS3 version where I could use, Move or Wiimote? And I was like, actually the sticks are just fine. Like they're fine.
Problems. Yeah, you can draw easily with them.
Yeah. Man, good stuff. Brad, that was a good thing to bring to Frame Trap. I'm also...
I know you love the man who makes it, so I do. You'd be down.
I do. He just makes such...
crazy, awesome games.
Yeah.
Someone out there has my copy.
Someone out there.
So what's the story behind this?
Had the game when it came out, played it a bunch, never finished it, went to go finally finish it one day, to start, maybe a year later, probably 2 years later, I put it down, went to finish business, like, it's time, I'm gonna go play Okami and get through it. Open it up, gone.
Game's gone.
You think it was PJ?
Probably PJ, dude.
Yeah,
Probably saw some videos or something of Okami and was just like, yo, I know Huber's got a copy.
Yep. And I know where he lives somehow. Yeah. I also have an old game to talk about that I played through. I've been in a Doom kick. I've just been all Doom all the time. And I played through Doom 64.
Sick.
Which nice. I had dabbled with before, but I never played all the way through. And they just re-released it, and boy, the re-release is a blast. I played through it on PC, and what a fascinating game. I think it's an easy game to kind of dismiss as more Doom, and that's not true. But they definitely, so Midway worked on this. It wasn't id, and they definitely put their own spin on it in a way. Like weapons feel different. The sprites for all the enemies are brand new. The way that the game uses lighting is actually really, really cool. There's a lot of like dark corridors that you have to illuminate, and things like that. There's like environment transformations, like in the second map, you get the red key, you go through this door, and then there's like this giant thing that like pounds into the ground and reveals a path forward. There's a really cool kind of puzzle where you have to chase around the blue key and it's like vanishing and you have to hit a button and then try to get over there quickly. And just what I'm trying to say is I think the way that they utilize the maps is really interesting, and the levels themselves are often the highlight. And I was playing Doom 2, and there are some maps in Doom 2 where it's like, how did you ever expect anyone to figure this out? Like, the way that you progress is completely nonsensical. Like, why do I have to go in the teleporter and then back through the teleporter and then that opens a door? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Some of those levels would take me 45 minutes, man.
It's just like...
For real.
It's just like nonsense stuff sometimes in Doom 2, even though Doom 2 is largely great.
It's the best.
But what I'm saying is there's some nonsense stuff. And in Doom 64, it's not that there isn't any of that. There are some moments where I think things are a little obtuse, but for the most part, I think it was like kind of a pleasure navigating through these levels, even when they got kind of complicated. And like, some of them just visually are so cool. Like, one of them is just basically like a giant castle or keep in the center, and you just kind of go up its different levels, and that's really satisfying. And man, the final boss fight is really interesting, and the way that it rewards you is if you find the secret level and you find the runes, it'll be way easier. But I didn't want to like have a guide hold my hand. Like, I didn't want to use a guide unless I was absolutely stuck. And so like, I didn't get those runes or those keys to make the unmaker more powerful, and to make the fight easier. And so I just went into it, and it was like brutal. It wasn't just like circle strafe until it's dead. It's like
ancient gods level.
Yeah, it was really challenging, and it took me quite a while, but I got through it. And it was just, I don't know, it was really satisfying to overcome that challenge. And I also thought it was cool that it was like, oh man, if I did find those secrets, you know, the fight would have changed. And so it's like, man, I feel like it gives you incentive to replay and stuff.
I did a full franchise playthrough when BFG came out. And just I remember 1 and 2 surprising me with how much slower they were when I remembered.
Oh, really?
You know? I just, we're so used to like, look up Doom 2 on YouTube, and the video you're going to see is someone who only plays Doom 2 at some like 10 out of 10 crazy high speed.
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like we always see the best players. But like, when I was replaying them, it was like, I'm going through this, like, not Doom 3 levels of slow, but like 1 and 2, man. I'm going through, like, looking for keys, like, way more exploring than my initial interpretation and nostalgia for like, go through, shoot, kill, which is honestly more akin to like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal now, is what like my original memory of old Doom was. But I feel like Doom 64 is even slower, like slow paced. Am I wrong in misremembering that, Ben?
No,
like
I think
more
you're
closely to Doom 3 kind of in its pace.
No, it's definitely not as slow as Doom 3. I think with Doom 1, Doom 2, and Doom 64, I think what you're talking about definitely applies, especially in the beginning of the game. But as like kind of the more classic Doom games ramp up, I feel like they all kind of reach a point where there's that map where it's just like, all right,
go kill.
It's a open area and a shit ton of demons, and so they kind of teach you to. That you do need to move fast. You do need to master the circle strafe. They kind of force that into you so you can survive, you know, as you're fighting things like cyber demons, right?
Nice.
Or tougher things like that. And so I totally get what you're saying. And if you watch the crazy people on YouTube, you're right. It's like a totally different experience. Certainly not at that level. But I feel like I play Doom a lot faster now than I did, you know, back in the day. And I just think the more that you play to it, the more you kind of adopt to that speed. But I see what you're saying for sure.
I'm in Craven 64, man. I'm in Craven. I just remember I played it a bit right when it re-released because I've been craving it so hard. Yeah. I never finished it as a kid. Played it a lot, but never finished it. It was way too difficult. And just the like coming out right when 2016 came out, or Doom Eternal came out? It came out when Doom Eternal came out, right?
I
it was
think
one of those.
Because Doom Eternal got delayed, and I think it was like before Doom Eternal came out. Cause
I think it was before.
I think
2020. It was 2020, okay. March 20th, 2020.
Oh, all right. Yeah, okay. Because I think if you pre-order Doom Eternal on PC, I think you got it as a pre-order bonus. So maybe it came out later than I thought it did.
Yeah, and like Doom Eternal was out, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Doom Eternal first.
Right. Yeah.
But little did I know that Doom Eternal is like takes everything out of you and then some. Shang Tsung like life steal.
Oh man!
But by the time I was finished, I was like,
yeah.
No more Doom for a minute. Give me a minute, please. Catch my breath.
Yeah, and Doom 64, like it's definitely not a perfect game. There are little things that I don't love. Like the super shotgun is in the game, but it has no reload animation. And part of the joy of the super shotgun in Doom 2 is you shoot it and you see it has that sound, right? And he's putting the shells in the shotgun. Here you just shoot it and it doesn't really, it hardly moves.
Does
and
it's just pump? How about the pump?
No, you get like nothing. It's just a very static kind of thing. And it's still powerful and it's still a good weapon, don't get me wrong. But I miss the reload animation from Doom 2 specifically.
That,
yeah. Yeah. It's really good.
Boom! Just like dream about that, dude.
Also, and I don't think this only applies to Doom 64. I think it applies to other Doom games as well, but especially when you get to the later maps, some things are just like a slog, where it's like you're just throwing like a shit ton of demons at me, and like just chipping away at their health. Like it's fine every once in a while, but when you feel like you've been through multiple rooms of like and I think that's something that I really made me appreciate about the design of Doom Eternal even more in retrospect, is you get into an arena in Doom Eternal and there's a huge variety of enemies. And so yes, some things have a ton of health and will take more effort to get through and be a burden on your resources. But to get those resources back, you have to go through the fodder. You have to like kill things that die immediately. And so there's a really good flow between, the big guys and the absolute fodder, and they're mixed in so well. Like there are just things that you absolutely melt, even if, a big thing is threatening you. And I really appreciate that. Also, man, hit scan enemies are just bullshit. They just are.
How would you compare it to other titles of the time, like Turok or something, as an N64 game? Do you think it holds up well?
I'm definitely not as familiar with Turok as I am Doom, so I don't know if I'm very qualified to say. I've definitely played some Turok in my time.
Or just like even GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Like, would you put this in the same pantheon? Or
oh yeah, so something that I kind of get frustrated about when I play Turok 1 is like the map design in Turok 1 is like super fucking confusing.
I know.
Like some of those maps feel like huge and super wide, and it's like,
and it's all foggy, dude. You can't see.
Where the hell am I
You're
going?
underwater, dude. There's portals.
I think that like kind of hurts my enjoyment of Turok, because I love the speed of Turok, but yeah, some of the levels get a little much. With Doom 64, I feel like it actually strikes a pretty good balance of letting you explore and feeling like there's room to breathe and feeling like there's secrets to find, and having that classic key structure of like the more you find, the more the level opens up. But it's pretty good, I think, without being too overwhelming. I think maybe some of the maps are a little bit too long. I love in Doom when a map takes me like 10 to 15 minutes. I feel like that's a perfect length. I think when you go beyond that, it can kind of become a slog, but for the most part, I think Doom 64 does a good job with that. You mentioned like GoldenEye, and GoldenEye is just such a different game because it's more like there's a lot of shooting in GoldenEye, but there's also a lot of like, okay, you have to, you know, depending on what difficulty you're playing on, you have to find this specific thing. Mm-hmm. And I would say Doom is more focused in the sense that like I'm finding keys, I'm killing demons, and like it just remixes that in a bunch of ways. So
nice.
Whereas like in GoldenEye, I feel like depending on the level that you're doing, it feels completely different from the rest of the game. So
nice. Dude, the dam. Great. What an opening mission. Top 10 FPS levels. The extra objectives, you have to like go down in there and like blow up the mainframe and shit.
It's definitely a great opening level. I think Knee Deep in the Dead from Doom 1 is also
classic.
Yeah.
Also like Doom 2, if you go back, you get the chainsaw right away.
I actually didn't know that in Doom 2 until I saw a video. I was watching Civy's Doom 2. Civy's great, by the way. If you like boomer shooters, he's your guy. And I was like, wait, how the hell did I not know that? Or maybe I did know that and I forgot. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think Doom 64 gets overlooked. And I feel like the way that it's talked about, I think like the 64 moniker makes it feel like spin-off-y, and the fact that it was made by Midway and all of this stuff, and the fact that it was locked to the N64.
The 64, Ben, gives it a novelty vibe.
And it's a
novelty.
It's really not like a novelty. It's like a straight up in your veins Doom game. It doesn't have the sort of like metal music vibe that Doom 1 and Doom 2 have. The music is a lot more atmospheric. Which I prefer the more headbanging stuff. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is I think this is a full-fledged Doom game, and if you haven't checked it out, like, I was extremely satisfied with, you know, the re-release version of it, and I thought it looked great, ran great, everything was good. And, like, yeah, people should check it out.
Nice. Yeah, Ben, we were talking about where does Doom go from here last time, I think, on Frame Trap or something. And it's like, you know, Ancient Gods really pushed that combat to the absolute limit, you know, crank it to 11 or crank it to 1,000 out of 10. So I wonder if maybe next time around, I haven't finished Ancient Gods, so this is not spoiler or anything. I haven't even finished it. I was wondering if maybe next time around we play as someone less capable and it goes back to those 64/Doom 3 kind of maybe slow it down a little bit. We're still Doom. But maybe lean into the atmosphere, the horror, you know, because the franchise does have a history of that.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, totally. And I think that could be cool, but I think even in Doom 64 and Doom 3, you start to feel powerful pretty quickly.
Totally.
And I do
just
think
somehow making it like a little less, you know, we're like Goku now, I feel like, in Doom.
Yeah, well,
you know, we need to be like Krillin or something.
Man, I don't know. I think being the Doomslayer is a huge part of the appeal. To kind of bounce off what you're saying, though, like Doom Eternal, I don't know how many more mechanics they could jam in that game. Like, it is kind of like stuffed with mechanics, especially after Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2. And so I don't know if like tacking on more battle mechanics is the right call, but I'm thinking about, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm thinking about how Diablo 4 is kind of approaching its design, where it's still trying to feel like Diablo, but it's kind of taking a more free-form approach, where it's like, hey, you know, it's not always going to be, you know, these maps, right? It's going to be like this entire region that you could explore. And I wonder if you could have like that sort of system in Doom, where like technically you still have all of these handcrafted and well-designed maps, but they're all like connected in the game world. So like if you start your playthrough, you might go east, Huber, and you end up in like, you know, map 12, let's say, and I go west and I end up in map 4, and like you can maybe find different weapons depending on where you go.
That'd be cool.
And it just maybe would make replays even more exciting. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like that. Metroidvania a little bit.
But yeah, I don't know if mechanically there's much more they could do.
There's
like
so much shit already.
There's so much shit with all of the weapon attachments. Like it's a lot.
Like I'm no genius game designer like id, but to the to the novice, it seems like they have gone all the way with that style, dude. I just can't see anything else they could add, or unless they just do more of the same or completely shake it up.
The last Doom game that I have on my list to play through, and I've dabbled with it before, but is Final Doom, which I've heard is a giant pain in the ass to get through. So I'm kind of excited, kind of dreading it at the same time.
Remember the box was so cool. My friend had it.
The box is really sick. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Corey had that box, dude. Final Doom box. I always just held it.
It's time for that part of the show where we shout out some wonderful shout out to your patrons. But before we do that, I actually have a new thing that we're going to do today. Mix it up. Normally I have like you guys play, or recently I have you guys play a game, and then one of you gets to do a PSA about something or say something positive. This time I want you both to be involved, and I thought it would be kind of interesting if both of you thought of a bad game that's really bad, but you named a great thing about that bad game. Now I'm definitely kind of putting you on the spot, and it might be tough to think of. So don't feel too rushed. But if anything jumps in your brain.
Bad game. So I guess like Balan Wonderworld, it's a bad game, but I think the boss fights are pretty good for a 3D platformer.
Nice.
I think they're pretty creative, actually.
So what makes them creative and better than other parts?
So it feels like it just has a lot more ideas than the regular game. Like it almost reminded me of like playing a Mario boss or something like that, where it has like kind of different things you can do. Like one thing I like about the game has been there's often 3 ways you can hit a boss. So you're rewarded for experimenting and trying out different things. Like you get essentially what are stars in that game's equivalent of stars for that game by experimenting, trying different methods out.
Awesome. Good answer, Brad.
Mine is kind of a half answer. The Fast and the Furious game is terrible, but Ian's edit of the review is one to watch. Very nice. Very nice.
I love how that wasn't about the game, but...
yeah. The edit came out of the fire that is that game, the ashes. And anytime Ian can be like unleashed on a review is fun, no no repercussions.
Huber, I gotta share this video with you. You just made me think of it. It's by this really popular YouTuber, Drew, I think Gooden is his name. Yeah, Drew Gooden. He did a video on Vin Diesel. Like the entire video is about Vin Diesel and just how weird Vin Diesel is. And you've got to watch it. Like this interview that he's doing with this lady is just extremely awkward. And he'll do these like Facebook live streams where he's just spewing nonsense. Like the words don't make any sense, but he's really happy. And like he'll have like photoshopped images with him and a quote and like an elephant. It's like crazier than I gotta show you this video. You would adore it. And anyone out there, I recommend watching it. Yeah, it's really, really good. Oh man, it's a riot. Yeah. Vin Diesel, King of Cringe is what the name is. If you in the audience want to look it up.
Oh my god.
Oh, Hubert. Okay. There's one part in the video. He was at the premiere for Avengers Endgame. And he's live streaming on his phone. And he just forgets that he's live streaming and puts the phone in his pocket while he's still live streaming. And so there's like 10 minutes where he's just streaming the inside of this pocket. And then he just takes it out and realizes what he did.
Vin Diesel does?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is hilarious.
But this part of the show is brought to you by some wonderful shout out tier patrons. In honor of Vin Diesel, let's do our best Vin Diesel impression after I'm done saying these names. But shout out to Elthanas, Greg TheDarkKnight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, Nick, Stephen Thomason, Edsgar, So I'm a Spider, So What, Sage Mode Q, and Alex AI.
You're
beautiful. Shout out. You're beautiful.
Yeah,
Big hugs.
Shout out.
Shout out to the family.
We have like more shout outs than we usually have, so thank you, Easy Allies community, for that wonderful support. Huber,
yo,
you've been freaking out about this Days Gone Crazy Taxi mode.
Dude, Days Gone 2, Sony, make it right.
What a time to talk about it.
How depressing.
Great time.
How depressing is that news?
Depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I randomly started playing this, and then all of a sudden it's on PS Plus. Then all of a sudden there's like news about a canceled sequel. So just kind of like Days Gone all of a sudden getting headlines.
I really think Days Gone could benefit so much from a sequel.
Oh my god.
100%.
Well, think about Uncharted 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You know, 1 was fun, but nowhere near as good as 2 was or anything like that.
No doubt. Undeniably. For sure. I just love Days Gone. Yeah. 71 on Metacritic will always stick out to me. I don't get hung up on my review scores. I try not to get hung up on other people's review scores. You know how it is, guys. Just reviews suck sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a reflection of the reviewers. It's a reflection of kind of the state of the game at launch.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember we got 2 codes at the time. Jones was reviewing and I was backing him up on support. So pre-launch, and this game was rough. It was buggy. There were a lot of bugs at the time. It just like was buckling under the ambition. You know, it felt like that generation of consoles could like barely handle what Days Gone wanted to be. And I just, you know, since then I looked into it, and there have been like 16 patches for this thing, and a new recent PS5 patch, which makes it 60 frames, faster loads, just really irons out and polishes out and shines it out. This game, and it's the best it's ever been now. Like, now is the time. If you slept on Days Gone, basically is what I'm trying to say. You know, it maybe stumbled out of the gate there, but through all of that, right now, it is the best it's ever been, and you should definitely not miss this great game.
Hubert, it's one of those games, because I talked about it on a Frame Trap not that long ago, and I played through it, and I ended up really enjoying it a lot. It's one of those games where I feel like I could talk a very long time about all the things that could be better, right? And I certainly don't think it's like this perfect game or anything close to that, but it's a very interesting game, and it's a game that I think tries to do things a little bit differently, and that's what makes it stand out, and that's what kind of like endears you to it. Like, I feel like there are games that you play that could be like technically better than Days Gone, but they're just like way blander. You know what I mean? Like this game has like this undeniable heart to it.
There's so much heart, dude. The story was just like so made fun of because of preconceived notions, like before anyone had played it, before anyone had stepped foot into Deacon St. John's shoes, everyone had their idea made up about him. And it's like, dude, Sam Witwer's performance, Brad, we always like joke about it, but like, holy shit, what an endearing character.
Yeah,
like,
I unironically love Deacon.
Unironically love Deacon St. John and Boozer.
One of my favorite things to do in Days Gone is to shut up that guy's radio. You know, when he's like, the truth will set you free. What is his name? Copeland?
Copeland.
Yeah. And I love just shutting him up, and then Deacon's like, not today. Or something like that. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Or just like when you're riding and you're listening and it's over and then he comments on it, like, yeah, Copeland, that'd be nice if we all weren't crazy sons of bitch, you know, just some commentary. I love it. And then, of course, I talked about the patches. They added all these new modes and difficulties. They added Survivor mode, which is incredible. incredible. There's no fast travel, barely any HUD. You got to drive everywhere, scavenge for supplies. It forces you to live in this world and take in all of your surroundings. Check out my Hubris Syndrome. Just did a full-on syndrome about it. It's only like 5 minutes long. Quick one. Check it out.
There's also a PC port coming out for this game.
PC port coming for everyone still holding out.
It just seems weird. This game sold well.
Yeah.
I think they said it sold... Someone at Bend, I believe they said it sold better than all of their past games combined or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's going to be on PC, so it's going to open it up to a whole other market, too. It's just disappointing because this series has potential. So much more potential.
So much. If this becomes another...
start, but it's in a great spot now.
If this becomes another Order 1886 situation, like, screw you, Sony. What the hell? Like,
I mean,
dude,
no disrespect to Order, but like, this has a lot more going on than the
I was just gonna say, I like it way more, but
I'm saying potential for a sequel, though, man.
Yeah.
Order 1887, like, that could be special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like how much they've improved the game, and like how like a lot of the complaints were at the beginning were its technical problems, and it's like most of that's been addressed now.
Does everything, need to be a God of War, Last of Us, Uncharted success? No,
it's
man.
No, not everything can be either.
I love remakes and I love replaying games, but holy shit, The Last of Us does not need to be remade.
Hubert,
at all.
Right. We'll get to that in another part of the show.
Okay, yeah. It's too bad. Like,
it's just depressing, man. Because you do
like,
hear about that. Go ahead.
No, I know Days Gone has similarities with other genres, but it is still like its own unique thing. So it's
I do think that hurt it a lot.
Yeah,
I think when they initially revealed it, people are like, "We
Last
already have
copy.
A zombie game on PlayStation," and obviously there are a lot of differences you can point to between the two games, but from like an at a glance perspective, I sympathize with that. Like, Days Gone was put in a tricky spot.
Oh yeah,
then delayed a bunch of times.
That game, it went through a lot of development. Like, that game took a long time to come out. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like disappointing. Like, I'm sure all of us read that article, the Bloomberg one about Sony not being happy with they wanting God of War, Last of Us numbers and stuff like that. It's like, shit, man. Not everything can be that, and not everything needs to be that. It kind of, makes me sad, because they could do more with this series. It could be better. It could be like the Assassin's Creed 2 from 1 kind of leap or something like that.
Totally. My God.
Yeah.
And it's for them to make up their mind too. Like, now it's part of this PS Plus and a PC port is coming. Like, why don't we reassess? Why don't we see how like this new life can breathe into this franchise? The fact that it was already shut down is like very disconcerting.
Yeah, I just think like homogenous game design is just so depressing. Like, what are you gonna do something now that has like colored loot in it, or like online co-op where you do dungeons? It's just like, I don't know, or like, does everything need to be this cinematic heart-wrenching story all the time? Like, I don't know, it
sucks.
It sucks.
Brad, you mentioned
it is wild to see even massive AAA studios. Like, Ben's got some resources, they're not indie by any means. It is interesting to see them going through their own set of problems, because like we always talk about indie development struggling, obviously they need the most support, but it is interesting to see this one of a big company getting like kind of stepped on by an even bigger, their bosses.
It's not the first time that we talked about this, but you read that Bloomberg article and you just think to yourself, like, what these companies are evaluating as successful is way out of whack and like not sustainable in a way that I think makes the video game landscape interesting.
Bunch of Bobby Kotick's out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a lot like Activision stuff. Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they're working on a new thing.
Right. I was just gonna say
that. Hopefully they're doing something they want, like they're really into and have like great ideas.
And it's situations like this that just make me count my blessings, dude. Every time a game comes out, never take it for granted, Just because Capcom is one of the biggest companies on earth doesn't mean, Resident Evils are always going to be good and coming out. So,
based on history...
Even Village release. Yeah. Based on history, it's
it's
not
downs.
In danger.
It's ups and downs, man.
Yeah.
Brad, you just, quote-unquote, finished Monster Hunter Rise, or you saw the end of the story, I guess, I should say.
I guess.
Well, yeah. Kind of an abrupt ending, to say the least. Yeah,
man. So Monster Hunter was a series that never really clicked with me until World. And I was like, okay, I get it now. It's finally clicking. Then I play Rise. Man, that game's real good. Yeah. I had a blast playing that game. I have some problems with it. Some things I miss from World that's not in this game. But I will say the wire bug is an excellent addition to this series. The amount of freedom it gives you, and like you said, Ben, at times though maybe a little too much freedom. But I think like the Palamute is something I cannot live without now. Like you need to have these things in every game now. They're just too good.
So what are the things from World that you were missing in Rise?
I miss like a lot of the environment being a part of a fight. So like maybe just think simple, like dropping a rock on a guy, I think was fun and cool. And like,
yeah, it's a really good point, Brad.
It fell in a nice line of like, it felt like a 50-50 shot where like I could make this thing, but I could easily mess it up. But once you connect with it, it feels like a big deal. It feels real good to land that thing. I love the turf wars in World. There are some in Rise, but it's not as often where it's an actual official turf war. Yeah. I think it's cool being able to ride the monsters, but I just loved seeing the monsters fight like more often like that. And obviously I miss, especially on like PS5 being able to play in 60 frames and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I miss it.
Yeah. Definitely praying against reason that PC version has cross-save. Dude.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not a veteran of the franchise, so a lot of these monsters are newer to me. Like I don't even know how many have been in old games, but they're all super rad to fight. Like I love the monkey kind of one. Who throws fruit at you.
It bummed me out. Yeah, Bishaten's new. It bummed me out. Kyle does not like Bishaten, but Bishaten is one of my favorites. Yeah.
I've come to realize I like a lot of the more goofy monsters, I guess, in Monster Hunter. These weird, stupid, goofy guys I just really love.
Pteranodon hype.
Yeah, and I think that's something that World suffered from a little bit is sort of the lack of some of the quirkier monsters, and I think you kind of get that back in Rise in a way that's really cool. The new spider monster is really cool, and you don't even encounter that until
that was a cool monster.
Yeah.
I also like one thing I do like about Rise is the rampage stuff now.
Yeah,
like the rampage. I think it's okay by yourself. I think it's okay, but much like a lot of Monster Hunter, I enjoy with more people.
Yeah,
especially because it's kind of this thing of managing turrets and placing stuff like there. I think it just works better with multiple people. But I like it more than like the Zora Magdaros.
Oh my god,
kind of stuff from World.
Never want to hear that name again.
Yeah, I don't like. Once I do a rampage, I'm like, okay, I don't want to like immediately do another one. But I think sprinkled in every once in a while, it's a good change of pace and something that I like about it, versus some of the Siege stuff in World, for instance, is like the first time I did Rampage and I was playing with reviewers, we definitely didn't do as well. But now that people like know what all the mechanics are and how to optimize, like there's a learning curve, I think. It's not tremendous. It's not like that difficult to figure out, but there's enough of one that I think makes it interesting enough for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
like?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I guess, like, I don't know what they could do or what I should be expecting, but I always feel like the story just kind of is nothing, really.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of the game is just about hunting monsters, so I don't know how you make a gripping story necessarily around that.
Yeah.
But it just felt like super forgettable. Like, I don't know. A monster shows up, you fight it, and that's about it, I think I just want something more from it, but I'm not sure what they could do.
Documents, Outrider style.
I don't know.
Oh, they do have that. There's lore hidden around the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I said in the review, Brad, that, Monster Hunter is obviously not, the story is not the point of Monster Hunter. It doesn't emphasize that to some great degree. But even by that metric, it falls like weirdly flat in Rise. Like, especially, talking about that ending that is not an ending. It just kind of like, you saying it's just kind of nothing is exactly right. Like, I don't need this, like, hold me by the hand, super drawn out, super complex story. But there's like, just even from a presentation standpoint, it kind of lacks some excitement. And I think in comparison to World, I think World had more exciting, more memorable moments throughout its story.
Did its story better than this game, definitely. Yeah. Like, I felt like I was kind of with this team, with the, I forgot her name, but like the girl with you, the researcher, like you were like a team.
The handler,
and you're going to do these things together. Oh, one thing I really want to get your opinion on is, Ben, is so the kind of like, it seems like there was a trade-off. So you don't really need to like track the monster so much anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of there. You know where it is at all times. You don't have to like find tracks and follow it. Mm-hmm. But to get this like sense of exploration or giving you an excuse to explore the map now is like those bugs that increase your stats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that later on? Because it felt like mandatory for me almost, because they're so good to get all those things. Granted, it doesn't take too long to do.
Yeah.
But how did you feel like every mission be like, okay, let me go spend 3-4 minutes finding bugs first?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So, Going back to Monster Hunter Rise, I like the idea of sort of scouting out this monster and getting its tracks or getting the goo that it spit on a tree or something, and all this stuff. Like, the idea of it really sort of plays into the hunting fantasy of Monster Hunter, I feel like. But in practice, especially after you got used to it, it was like see glowing thing, click glowing thing. Like, it really didn't feel like hunting. Hunting. It didn't really feel like you were using your wits to track down this monster. It just sort of felt like obligatory in a way. In Rise, I actually think it's better because although you're right that it does feel kind of mandatory in a way, I think the speed, the mobility that you have with the Palamute and the wire bug makes it feel pretty fast and fun. Like, you don't run into the situations where it's like, oh, I need to get up there, and so I have to like climb up all those things. It's like, no, I just like zip up with my wire bug. And I think that because of your mobility, exploration and gathering stuff is like more, like sometimes just as fun as taking down the thing that you're hunting. And so I think that makes it work and better, I think, than the exploration, say, in World.
Yeah. I guess because they took it out, you wouldn't really have a reason most of the time to even go through the level, except for beelining it to the monster every time. Yeah. I guess it gives you a reason to kind of explore the area you're at and get to learn it, maybe find a hidden camp or something like that in the process.
Yeah, and
I just wonder if it's something they'll bring back.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems so tied to the wire bug, maybe. I don't know, just because they're bugs too, maybe. I'm just thinking that.
Kind of what you were saying, though, Brad. Whether or not they bring back kind of the map design and like the perma buffers and that sort of thing back. If the next Monster Hunter game, I don't have that wire bug and I don't have that Palamute, I feel like I'm going to be disappointed just because of how much fun those things are to use.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious to see what their post-launch support's going to be like for this game. I mean, Worlds was great, obviously. they had a ton of stuff in an expansion later. Like, I wonder if they'll do that for this game, if they'll go as hard with this game.
Yeah, the fact that we have Chameleos coming this month, along with Apex Rathalos and other things coming, I think it's striking at a good time where enough people will be able to like get through the game, kind of get geared up, and then go hunt these new things. And so I have a lot of faith that'll be good. The fact that it's just free and you're getting new things to fight is fantastic.
Right.
But yeah, Brad, how did you feel about the switch skills for the weapons?
The switch skills, so some of them I like, but so I play the longsword, and like one of the skills I just don't enjoy nearly as much as like the helm splitter kind of ability where you leap in the air.
Yeah,
I really like that ability. I think it's really good, and for what I've seen, most people say to stick with it because it's so good. I think it's cool, like the experimenting with it, but I don't know if it's something they'll bring back if the wire bug doesn't come back. I think it adds a nice extra layer, Ben. Like, my weapon feels different enough from World. It feels super familiar, and some things have changed, though, where I feel like it has its own little tweaks that I like. But, I don't know. I kind of like the idea, Ben, of, like, you use those abilities, and it makes it easier to mount on the monster.
Yeah.
So it gives you some initiative to toy around with that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I think it's a cool addition that gives you a little customization if you want with your hunter. Like, you're like, I've been playing this weapon a long time. I want it to feel just a little different. And even like a move change can make your weapon feel completely different how you play.
Love that.
Yeah, Brad, I think that's a really good assessment of it, and I think it's well said. I kind of ran into the same situation with the greatsword, though, where it's like, okay, the guard tackle, it just feels worse than the regular tackle, and the rage slash is just consistently doing less damage than the true charge slash. And so like, I'm kind of glad that these things are here to mess around with, but I wish sometimes the options felt more viable than they can end up feeling. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it's more viable than I give it credit for, but just based on my experience, it's like, okay, like these aren't as useful as I want them to be. So I wonder if like maybe even having more of them, like I wonder if that's what they could add over time is in addition to new monsters. It's like, here's a new switch skill for all weapons or something. That would be
I think that's cool. I just, it's when you get more, when you throw more in, like Monster Hunter already has an insane amount of like weapons and depth to these weapons. I worry about the balancing of some of these aspects.
Yeah.
But hey man, if they can do it, I'm down.
Yeah. It's interesting because it sort of feels like a callback to the styles and skills of generations, but not quite at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah,
cool.
I mean, I think the game's great. I had a blast playing through it, and I like love hunting with you guys. So
yeah.
I'm super looking forward to see what more they'll bring to the table. Like, I'm a big Monster Hunter fan now. I didn't think I would be after all these years, but like, hell yeah, like proper Monster Hunter, I'm in.
Let's get that village crossover.
Yeah, sure. Why the hell not?
Yeah, that Chameleos update, hunting, hopefully with you guys.
One thing of praise though is my online experiences actually have been really good in Monster Hunter Rise, which we were all super worried about because Nintendo Online. But I mean, it's been great. Like, I haven't really been disconnected. I haven't seen a ton of lag or anything. So good on you, Capcom.
I've had a couple of small things here and there, but for the most part, the online has been excellent. Yeah.
Also, it like runs really good.
Yeah, it does.
Like when I was fighting with like a 4-group thing, everyone's doing crazy ass shit. Like the game runs fine. Like I wasn't seeing dips or anything like that or affecting my gameplay. So
I think what they accomplished, both in terms of performance and visually on the Switch,
it's super
has been nice. I'm really curious to see that PC version when that comes and how the visual and performance upgrade will feel. But I think what they did on the Switch is really cool.
Yeah, dude, Capcom, please let us carry data over.
Please.
Like, please.
Yeah. I think you just, you get to a certain point, right, in terms of familiarity with a weapon and monsters, that it's just, you just, I just don't want to do
I don't want to do it again. You know,
I don't want to do that early stuff again. Yeah, I just don't want to do it.
It's like, I've invested a ton of time already. You know,
yeah.
I don't want to restart.
Yeah, totally. All right. Are we ready for the HOTTAKE?
Go!
And Huber, you kind of, understandably so, talking about Days Gone, got ahead of me because in that Bloomberg report, I scared my cat with that HOTTAKE, by the way. In that Bloomberg report, it was said that The Last of Us is being remade.
So weird.
Reportedly being remade. And it is weird.
So weird.
And I think it kind of brings a interesting discussion. Is
already amazing.
Yeah, the remaster is already very good. Played it right before Last of Us 2 came out. It's fantastic. The game still looks fantastic. Not a game that I think of when it comes to, this needs to be remade. But there's a lot to talk about here, like I already said. And it has to come. We are in a remaster, remake, re-release obsessed culture, not just with video games, but especially in video games.
Cash in on nostalgia.
Yes, cashing in on nostalgia.
Shared universes.
It's happening all the time. I feel like for every new thing that gets announced, it's like there's 2 re-releases happening in some degree, which is okay. I enjoy that to some degree. This is a 2013 game. Mm-hmm. And so that sort of brings about like, A, is this Last of Us remake exciting or interesting to you at all? And B,
it's like,
how soon is too soon?
For me, you kind of nailed it right on the head. Is like, this game's not even 10 years old yet, man.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, it's not even 10 years old yet. And the game has gotten an HD or like a remaster version already for PS4.
Yeah, and it's like incredible. It runs at 60 frames. It looks amazing. We just had part 2. Like, at least with Final Fantasy, at least with Resident Evil, these are full-on remakes. I mean, you compare them to their original counterparts.
They're dramatically different.
It's a completely different game. A remake of this is we're in that weird line of like remaster remake. I mean, is it just gonna be the Last of Us Part 2 engine and like maybe some Last of Us Part 2 moves like jump and dodge? Is that the only difference? Like, it's just it's so bizarre to me. We're already getting the movie. It's like, I'm so worried about oversaturation. We still have factions coming out. It's just such a weird thing too to come off of just a few years ago, Druckmann being so protective of the franchise, saying, maybe we won't even make a sequel. Like, I don't want Joel and Ellie to pop up in other weird things. Like, just how protective of the IP they were. And now all of a sudden, like, sequel, remake, movie, Hollywood, yo.
Yeah. Right. Huber, whenever we talk about remakes, the mind immediately goes to Resident Evil remake, and just like that's a remake that feels like it justifies its existence so perfectly, where it feels like
Final Fantasy.
It's like, hey, well, Final Fantasy is a good point, maybe even a better point than Resident Evil remake here, because Resident Evil remake to me is like, this is the game that we had in our heads. This is like the most complete version of our vision, and they went out of their way to add new things to it. And Final Fantasy, like, that's what makes that game so exciting, regardless of how you feel about the changes, is it's not doing the same thing again. It's taking this and going in a new direction. And I just feel like with The Last of Us, you're so limited. It's like, yeah, mechanically, what do you add to that game to change it? And it's like, it's so connected to Last of Us Part 2 that you really can't, like, fuck around with the story. Yeah. I don't. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe they will go in some directions. But you think about it, it's like where do you go? What do you do? And I think that's never the spot you want to be in for something like this.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to take anything for granted, but like, okay, this is going to sound like I am, but like, okay, it comes out. It's The Last of Us. So like, some people will think it's a 10. Others will be bitter. Mm-hmm. Like, it comes out and it's great. Then, like, what's the... there's no point, damn it.
Right.
Like,
there's no point.
It comes out and it's a 10 out of 10. So, we just did this. We just did it.
Hubert, that is so well said. Because it's like, even if it comes out and it crushes it, it's like, okay, whatever. Like
nothing
changes for The Last of Us. Yeah, the perception of Last of Us.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's not exciting at all. Because
unless there's some secret on the side, okay, remember there's factions cooking. So unless this is all part of some grand plan to have some crazy integration as to where the remake and factions are somehow connected more than we thought, affecting each other, or like there's some extended Druckmann cut where now part 1 remake and part 2 are just one whole cut, or like, unless there's some weird ass marketing or editing going on in that sense, I can't imagine anything they do being exciting.
This just feels like this is 100% a safe bet pick. This is not like it doesn't feel like we have something to prove. We want to make this better or something like that. Like, think about how much more excited people would be if they were like, hey, we're like remaking the Jack trilogy or something like that. Kind of like how Crash Bandicoot did it or something. Something that's been gone for so long and
so
it's
many games.
So beloved or something. Like, it may not sell as much as The Last of Us, but I guarantee you people will be way more excited about it.
And Brad, like, don't get me wrong. I love Last of Us. I do. I love it to my core. I love Uncharted. But, like, it would be kind of nice if Naughty Dog was like, we're going to do something fun like a Jack remake. Like, we're just going to
like kart, dude. Jack combat racing.
Sure. Just like something that, like, it's just a little less serious, you know? Like, that would be nice. It'd be a nice change of pace. Yeah. That would be so cool.
Like, I just think about, like, this game compared to, like, some of the remakes that Bluepoint has done, you know? They're super, very much like the original games. But, like, in the terms, like, let's look at Shadow of the Colossus or something. You know, Shadow of the Colossus is a PS2 game. Got a PS3 game, but, like, that's something that people would want. They want to revisit that kind of game, you know?
Yeah, and...
Like, people get excited about that idea, and I think this proves our point. But people aren't really that excited about The Last of Us, man.
Technology is critical to video games, whether you like it or not. It is such a big part of it. And Shadow of the Colossus is a game that can benefit by being remade because the technology improves so much. Last of Us strength, I love the gameplay, 10 out of 10, don't at me. I love it, but like the strength is in the storytelling, and that story has already been told to the best of its ability. You cannot tell The Last of Us 1 story any better, dude.
Well,
it's perfect.
It's been told and remastered already. It's not like it's just the PS3 version.
And it's gonna be told in a TV show. It's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I think what always is encouraging to me, whether, you know, I get to experience something or more people get to experience something, when they remake or remaster or whatever the hell they do to it, something that may be beloved, but not that many people have experienced. And so, like you mentioned, Shadow of the Colossus, obviously a critical darling, but in comparison to The Last of Us, I just don't think it ever got...
Not in the same ballpark.
Yeah, and so it coming out and re-releasing and more people getting to partake in it, I think is really
cool.
Another great point. Same thing with Demon's Souls, right? So when Demon's Souls got remade, so many people were like,
it was locked to PS3 and that's it.
Yeah, so many people are like, I never played this. Yeah. And so I love when games get a chance to expose themselves to a new audience. And I know that this isn't true, but boy, it feels like everybody's played Last of Us. Like, if you wanted to play
and it's so convenient already. It's already so convenient with the remaster.
Yeah.
It's on your PS4, PS3, PS4, PS5. You can literally play it on 3 versions of PlayStation.
Yeah.
It is mind-blowing.
It just feels like, man, just do so. There's so many other games you could do, dude.
Yeah. And just the worst time to announce this too. There's been a lot of bad vibes for PlayStation, I feel like. Sony in the past couple months, it's been like one
because they're like they shut down like the Japan studios and all that reshuffling going on. Yeah, it's like people are afraid of it turning into just like a big, you know, AAA blockbuster game studio only. It's like, man, but you miss out on some cool stuff if you just focus like that.
Totally.
I think what the other side of this conversation, though, and is worth bringing up, is I don't want them to do it, but I love Last of Us so much that I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it if they do it.
That's the thing.
And I think that's what's
that's so annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
it is.
In a way, like, yes, you are absolutely part of the problem, but it's like, I feel like I'm being punished for loving and supporting something. You know, like, I'm not the suit making the decision. Like, and from a business sense, this is a sure bet, right? Like,
oh my god,
they remake Last of Us. No matter how much the internet complains, like, it's gonna do super well.
It's gonna do super well. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a guaranteed home run.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's part of factions or what the hell.
I mean, maybe it could be. Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen?
We're coming up on a year from Last of Us Part 2, so expect some juicy info in the next couple months. I feel like it's time.
I mean,
summer,
COVID,
obviously, E3.
I wouldn't say expect anything around a time date, but I'm sure they're just working away on that game. When it's ready, I guess.
Hubert, obviously, Last of Us is beloved to you as well. But the fear that I kind of have with The Last of Us, especially now that there's also this HBO show and this remake and all this stuff, like there's a lot going on with The Last of Us. But Last of Us is something that I don't want to see it become bad.
Walking
basically,
Dead.
Totally.
Like
I know.
It's like
right?
I feel like Last of Us 1 had a very strong purpose, and I think Last of Us Part 2 had a very strong purpose. And I think what makes them special is that purpose and this understanding of those characters and this journey that they go on. And it's just like I don't want them to force it. I don't want them to keep going just because it does so well.
Yeah. I agree. Show some restraint. I loved The Last of Us, like, just for being what it is. This freaking brutal, high-budget AAA game, dude. I mean, it's Hollywood, sure, but, like, The Last of Us is pretty much as brutal as you can possibly get, subject matter-wise, yet it's also mainstream, blockbuster, AAA. Like, I love that. I love that about it. But
it is
now,
with narrative.
Yeah, and with all of these announcements, it's just becoming a little more and more Hollywood, a little more, blockbustery. So I just hope it doesn't lose its identity, truly.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing, right? Where for both Part 1 and Part 2, really the magic of those games to me is the story in the sense that, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but the revelations that happen, they have such an emotional punch to them and the way that they're delivered. And it's like, the more you just keep retelling that, it's like, I've already had that punch. And so it just doesn't, it just doesn't,
it won't hit the same.
Yeah. You don't feel the things that you want to feel in the same way. Yeah.
Like, we've been through so damn much, and now you're going to sell us on the journey again? The Part 1 again? Like, I just came out of the other side, Naughty Dog. I don't need it. Nobody asked for this.
Well,
I played the remaster a year ago, damn it.
And Huber, I wanna touch on that because I don't know how many times you've played through The Last of Us, but you've played through it like 5, 6, 7 at least. And what I love,
Part 1.
Yeah, I've played through Part 1 twice, and what I love is I feel like that sense of replaying comes from a place of love. It's like a choice that you're making as a player. I love these characters so much. I love this world so much. I love this story so much. I want to revisit it, and so you do when you feel it's the right time. I feel like with this remake, the sense that I'm getting from all of this is like, I guess I'll go through it, and that's exactly
know,
not.
right?
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is.
It is.
They're making it like this like weird obligation.
Hey,
like
you have to play this now.
Yeah.
Hey,
like,
we're
I guess
releasing
I gotta
this.
play Last of Us again.
It's kind of diminishing the fire, I guess.
It's bizarre. Well, it is baffling, and just with the current momentum, we're definitely in a Microsoft moment right now. They're crushing it. At least that's my perception. We will see in the coming months what shakes out of this. Because I don't know a single soul, guys. I don't know a single soul who asked for this and is pumped. And I know people are excited. I know you'll see, I bet we'll read 100 comments on this page.
Mm-hmm.
Super hyped. Can't wait. Gonna play it day one. But I ask those same people. That's the thing. I ask those same people. If you're one of those people that says 100% I'm there, Last of Us Remake, yes. I ask you if you would take it above all other remakes,
Right. I think
if that's the one really you would take above a Metal Gear remake, above a Dino Crisis remake, above a name a million things, Metroid Prime, like the list goes on.
Yeah, it's not that this doesn't have any value or any any to appeal to it whatsoever. It's just the fact that it's like an opportunity that could be so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Sony has unlimited resources.
Yeah.
They could choose to make anything they want. Days Gone 2.
It really feels like they are in a position where they could remake or whatever they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if they went all in, they could go all in on a project anytime, I feel like. Yeah. But this is the one they're choosing.
Imagine if they were like, we're going to give Ape Escape another shot. That'd be sick. It'd be sick.
Yeah.
Kojima comes in for a little collaboration.
Sure.
Yeah. Guest designs a level.
I know they need to not be afraid of these smaller games. I guess Destruction All Stars is a good example of a smaller game, that Sony really is pushing. I hope they just have more ideas like this in the future, or ideas similar to that, smaller scale.
Well, I don't think All Stars did too well, so that's not a good sign.
Well, I mean that's a different thing of a game,
Yeah.
Sorry, Sony, if you did Jak and Daxter remakes, they would do better than Destruction All Stars. You just got to pick the right things. Yeah. Financially, The Last of Us is a home run, and it's probably going to do super well for them. So I understand that, but it just sucks because there's so much more they could be doing.
Yeah.
Siphon Filter, dude. Where have you been, Siphon Filter? Come on back. We miss you.
I mean, you could just keep going, right? Like the list is
Sony
so
Ben
long.
was doing Days Gone.
Exactly. Now let's go Siphon Filter.
Maybe
then
that's
if
their new
Days
game
Gone too. Yeah.
Just
So many
anything
games.
other than a Last of Us remake.
I know.
Yeah.
One of my
I don't know. It doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easily.
Not a knock on
Easily.
the game at all.
Yeah.
Even a little bit.
We don't need
it. It reminds me of Resident Evil 4 remake, where people are like, it doesn't need a remake kind of thing. But at least Resident Evil 4 came out in 2003.
Right.
And the game's old now,
Right.
And they could, based off their other remakes, it'll be different. Whereas, if they're following the lines of, Blue Point style remake, it's going to be, pretty much the exact same game.
Yeah. It's funny, Brad, because The Last of Us remake makes Resident Evil 4 remake look appealing by comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even weirder, too, just coming off of the backlash from Last of Us Part 2. How exhausting was that, guys? Ben, how exhausting was The Last of Us Part 2 discourse?
I mean...
And then now we're supposed to, buy into a remake? Just, I'm exhausted from all things Last of Us, so I needed, a year plus to recharge, I guess.
I adore Last of Us 2.
Same.
But... just because something is good doesn't mean I want it all the time. And yes, the discourse around Last of Us 2 was a lot of it really had nothing to do with the game itself. It's just the way people were choosing to talk about it was... It was a level of intensity that made it not fun to talk about. I truly don't care if you don't like the game. That's not what I'm saying.
Totally.
It's just it just
Calm
felt,
down
it was
about
it was an at each other's throats kind of discourse that was
pay $60 or don't.
Well, you can pay $60 and hate it. I think it's just there's
True. I guess that was part of the big argument, was the whole false advertising. Well said, Ben.
It was just
I don't even want to go down this road.
I don't either. Like you said, Huber, I'm exhausted with it. I'm over it. I don't care.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
We'll just end with Last of Us remake. Not that exciting.
Yes.
But we'll probably play it.
Yes, exactly.
Dude, you know what I'm gonna do? The day it comes out, I'm gonna play the remaster instead. Take that.
I don't think you're gonna do that.
Right,
I don't think you're gonna do that.
I know.
I would bet a lot of money that you will not do that.
Yeah. Straight up lies.
Are we ready for some emails?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, you guys just called me out immediately.
No, I
wouldn't even want you to do that, dude.
Yeah,
if
I wouldn't want
you're
you to do that
your
either.
words still, I'd just be like, nah, Huber, it's okay, man.
Yeah.
I want you to play a game you want to play.
Because they're gonna show that trailer and it's gonna be like, holy F.
Yeah,
dude.
it's gonna look great.
Hype Train Unleashed. And they even remade some of those.
Fuck it up.
Because some of those scenes are redone in part 2. You know, we see part 1 in part 2. We see it. Crazy.
Our first email comes in from Ricky. This one has some complexity to it, so
really quickly. Oh my god, I'm sorry before you go on. Ben, I know. I am sorry. I think it's interesting that Resident Evil came out in 96, but its remake was in 02. That's only a 6-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
But the leap in technology between
was
PS1
insane.
and 64 to, the next generation was
What if
wild.
Last of Us remake looks even 10 times better than part 2? Then is it worth it?
10 times better than part 2? I can't even imagine.
Not 10. What if it, because part 2 is a PS4 game. What if it blows part 2 out of the water?
Part 2. Yeah, of course, but I'm sure it'll look visually great. Like Demon's Souls looked great.
Yeah, like theoretically,
I think in the case of Last of Us, it's like, how much am I benefiting from it looking better?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
great question. Yeah.
I'm thinking about Last of Us, and like,
even if it's so real, even if it's uncanny valley real,
right,
it doesn't change much.
Right. It does. I don't know how, because like, for both the PS3 and the PS4 with part 2, those are some of the best looking, most technologically impressive games on those platforms already. I don't know.
The remake would have to make me feel like I'm actually killing a person.
I don't know that I've ever seen or been a part of a Last of Us conversation where somebody went, I just wish it looked better. I don't know that that's ever been said in a critical discourse of Last of Us. It could have looked better. Like, who said that? No one said that.
All right, sorry. No, I thought of Resident Evil only 6 years, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I've had to change the timestamp like 3 times. It's all right. That was great.
Also in an era where there wasn't a ton of remakes.
Right.
Oh yeah, good call.
Our first email comes in from Ricky. You're going to want to pay close attention to this because there's some complexity here. Hey, Ben and Allies. I've been following all of the E3 is back news and the discussion around last year's digital game press conference replacements. The sentiment I keep hearing from various outlets and viewers is that they miss having game announcements in one big week. Last year's showcases just didn't seem to have the structure or expectations set for any of them to be memorable. I personally enjoyed the nonstop nature of last year, as 2020 was rough. It was nice to have new games and events to look forward to during that time. However, many of the shows didn't have any big surprises, covered the same games, and sometimes far too many games for any one thing to stand out. I know E3 can often produce the same effect, but having recaps and coverage from EZA always made it more digestible. E3 had its problems, but I think many are glad to have it back. However, we will likely see something similar to last year's summer game mess on top of E3. Can there be a best of both worlds scenario this year? For this game, each ally will need to pick, and I'm not going to have each of us do it, we'll just do it collectively. Each ally will need to pick 3 of the following summer game mess showcases to return alongside E3 this year. For each showcase, assign a showstopper to headline the event. Each showstopper could be a gameplay demo, release date, reveal of a new game, or whatever you can dream up.
Are we being cute? Are they saying summer game mess instead of fest?
Yeah, yes.
They're being cute?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a list of things from last summer, and let's collectively pick 3 of them, and then something that could be there that would really make it exciting. So you have
cool.
IGN Summer of Gaming, Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, PlayStation Summer 2021 State of Play, feels like an obvious one to pick, Future Game Show, Guerrilla Collective, EA Play, New Game Expo, Bit Summit Gaiden, and Stadia Connect.
So we picked 3 of these to do.
3 of these, yeah. I went through those pretty fast. I can refresh.
We want Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, I would like to have Summer Game Fest with Keighley.
Sure.
And we want the State of Play.
I thought
I'm having a hard time remembering
might have
a lot of these.
EA might have some potential.
Okay, sure, yeah.
We don't have to do EA. We can do another one if you want.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the shows, I don't remember a lot of them.
EA is just frustrating, dude.
Oh, it is. But the fact that I get to be in control of it.
Yeah. Yes, Ben. This is what I want in life.
Yes.
Ben in control of EA.
It like, you're right. Like, whenever we do E3 and it's EA's turn, it's always like, it's like always the worst part. or one of the worst parts. Yeah.
And their freaking catalog is so deep every time. We're like, yo, this could show up.
Yeah.
This could show up. And nothing ever does.
But I think about like EA and it's like, okay, immediately the showstopper is, lengthy Mass Effect gameplay. That'd be awesome. That'd be a showstopper. That'd be something everybody would be talking about.
Or Dragon Age, something like that.
Yeah,
I would personally,
or a new Star Wars.
Like Jedi Fallen Order too.
Yes.
Something like that.
Was Bethesda on this list?
No.
They didn't do anything last year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
I think EA Play, there's a lot of games we could get excited for.
But now Bethesda is Xbox anyway, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Shit, that's part of just Microsoft.
Yeah.
Flexing, Microsoft. Flexing.
For Jeff Keighley, what would be like a Keighley showstopper?
I feel like big publishers could show up at Keighley's thing.
Keighley's
showstopper. You could get Nintendo, you could get Microsoft, you could get Sony at Keighley.
Yeah, you could get anything.
I feel like
get Kojima,
I would want
man.
Breath of the Wild 2 with Keighley or something.
But
showing the game off or something.
Yeah, my mind, Brad, immediately went to Breath of the Wild 2 as well, but thinking about it, it's like, well, in this scenario, like Nintendo E3 is happening still. So would you separate Breath of the Wild 2 from Nintendo?
Oh, yeah, that's true, Ben. That's a good point.
I do think
Hills, dude. Keighley is Silent Hill.
Silent Hills.
When Silent Hill comes back, Keighley is delivering the news.
But wouldn't that be State of Play?
I don't think it needs to be.
Okay.
I don't think it needs to be. I could see because it's like third party,
But it may not be this time.
Yeah, true. And I wonder if like Kojima is fully done with it, or if there would be a new Out of the Ashes of PT,
Yeah.
Because like you look at when that happened versus now, obviously no one even knew what the hell was going on when it went down. Now it's mythical. Why wouldn't you want Kojima to make a Silent Hill game?
Maybe this wouldn't be enough of a showstopper for many people. I would be really excited about it, but like a new Yacht Club game, like a new like what are they doing after Shovel Knight game, I think would be really neat.
Ridiculous big dream. World of Warcraft 2 at Keighley's thing.
That would be insane.
Here it is.
That would be insane. That would be like
just
one of the biggest
insanity.
announcements ever. Yeah.
That'd be insane.
Yeah.
There needs to be like the loudest drumming when it happens. I want to hear the war drums.
I want Keighley to go, and I want him to scream it. I want Keighley to scream for the Horde. And like rip off his shirt.
Yeah, dude.
And just be like, for the Alliance,
Pounding Horde.
For the Alliance.
And I want Chris Metzen to be there, even if he doesn't work at Blizzard
Yeah,
anymore,
there's nothing to do with the project.
Energy. Yeah.
What's the number one Sony revival on deck? What's the number one? Let's have a definitive one right now. It's no longer
I know
Final
that
Fantasy
people
VII.
really want
What's the number one?
Legend of Dragoon to come back in some way.
Isn't that Saturn though?
No. That's
Legend of
PlayStation 1.
Dragoon.
Panzer Dragoon. It's Panzer
You're
Dragoon.
thinking Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah.
the number one studio revival in terms of like it has to be a Sony. It has to be a first party.
Or like something synonymous with Sony, or a first party even, yeah, just that Sony one. I mean, that has been dormant.
To me, because of the series legacy on this console, as well as PT, to me it is Silent Hill.
Silent Hills.
Yeah. Silent Hill would be huge.
Like it's not technically like Sony, but
the origins.
Yeah.
It's like Resident Evil technically isn't Sony, but like Origins.
It feels associated with
Sony.
Yeah.
Legend of Dragon is 100% Sony.
So Legend of Dragon.
That'd be pretty wild.
That would be. Okay, Legend of Dragoon.
That'd get a lot of people pumped.
Yeah. It'd be just so unexpected, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see for like what was the other one? We did Summer Game Fest and
State of Play and tentatively EA. We don't have to do that one, but
okay.
We talked about it.
Yeah. I was gonna say for another one, holy shit, my mind just legit went blank. It'll come back to me. That was dude. Gone. Mind wipe. Full mind jack.
I think it would be really sick at any of these to see Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah,
yes,
dude.
Ben. Yes.
Like
mass appeal, baby.
Just put it anywhere. I don't care.
Just put it anywhere, dude.
I would also really love like a Mega Man X9. That would be extremely exciting for me.
Oh shit!
Street Fighter 6, any of that stuff. All the Capcom stuff.
Obviously, like Onimusha, Usual Suspects, dude.
Usual Suspects,
yeah. The Usual Suspects.
Evil Within 3,
yeah.
So.
Cool.
But yeah, I feel like if we're in charge, dude, if we're Sony with this Microsoft news, you know, gotta keep attacking nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah.
That's Sony's greatest asset, their greatest weapon. Is like, you grew up playing these franchises, yeah. So just hit that well.
Our next email comes in from Alexander, who says, playing as Hero's Companion. Hello, Ben and panel. Which game would you like to play as the Hero's Companion instead of the main hero? To be clear, I'm not talking about a standalone story with this character in a leading role. I'm talking about playing as a support character in a game we already know. For example, in God of War 2018, you will play as Atreus and have to follow an AI-controlled Kratos, shoot arrows at specified targets, open doors, read runes, and so on, but only when you are told what to do. Or only when you are told to do so.
I'd be Midna.
Oh, Midna's an interesting pick. Zelda in general I feel like there's a lot of possibility there.
Go ahead and solve those puzzles, Link. Let me know when you need me.
I wonder if you could do like Ashley Resident Evil 4.
Playing as Ashley. Just hide in a dumpster.
Yeah. I mean, we already play as her, but yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. Like,
just like more.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do when you're just like tied up? Just yell.
Yeah. Spam
Leon!
X-A.
Help me, Leon!
Leon! Oh, shit, I had one, but I totally...
Mind wipe, dude.
Yeah, mind wipe. Fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot that I'm not thinking of here.
Maybe playing as like Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite, since you have those weird like.
Oh, Brad, that's a great one. Shit. That's a really, really good one. Yeah.
Diana Burnwood in Hitman.
Oh, that's
you know, because it could be such sick DLC because it would be like you're hacking in shit. You're telling Hitman like, yo, third floor,
Huber,
there's
that is
your target.
I'm amazed that they haven't done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Shit,
that'd be cool DLC.
Both of them.
Yeah, fun mode.
I'm trying to think of
just like watching 47 in real time, like go through the environment too. It'd be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was co-op even, and you had to communicate with your partner, like, I mean, Hitman 47 doesn't really need help, but you know what I'm saying.
What about being Joseph Huber from Evil Within?
Dude. If Evil Within 3 doesn't happen, I can't complain because I've already gotten so much in life. But I want it. I want it so bad.
Hey, dude, maybe Microsoft will invest in it now.
Oh, I hope.
I thought about being Nico in Devil May Cry 5 because she like just shows up with the van in the most awkward places and like driving
just runs over shit.
Yeah, just like having to drive the van and meeting up with like Nero or something. That could be really fun.
Oh, I thought about just being being like Yangus in Dragon Quest VIII with the hero or some shit. That could be fun, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking about JRPGs as well, but it's kind of weird because you like control them. You do have control over them, yeah.
But like, I get what you mean. Point of the game is just to watch his back,
right?
Protect him, dude. Make sure he gets the quest done.
Executioner.
Our last email comes in from Chris. It's a bit of a long one, so get ready.
Remake Dragon Quest VIII. Can think of 1,000 remakes. We need more than The Last of Us. Do you think we could come up with 1,000 video games?
Oh, dude, I don't know if I could come up with 1,000. 1,000.
Do you think we?
I
do you think we could come up with 100?
I think we could definitely, absolutely come up with 100.
Yes.
The thing about Dragon Quest VIII is like, it doesn't even really need to be remade. Like it still looks so good.
Just a remaster.
Yeah, just put it out.
Bump the resolution up and the frame rate. We're good to go.
Our last email comes in from Chris. Hey, Ben and other allies. I've been a big fan for a long time, and this is my first ever question. It's a bit of a long one. So the past couple of years, we've seen at least 2 well-respected and well-loved developers incur a lot of criticism / backlash and lose almost all of their fans' goodwill with the bad release of one game, and they are Bethesda Game Studios and CD Projekt Red. One similarity I noticed between both releases is that their main issues all involved problems they had in the past. For Bethesda, their games were infamous for being filled with bugs / glitches, but most people overlooked this and praised their game because their worlds were so immersive and the story and characters were well written. I can't help but feel that this eventually became a crutch because as soon as they did not have this and their bugs were on front stage with the release of Fallout 76, they immediately got a lot of backlash from fans and critics alike. CDPR faced a similar situation, as a lot of their past games were very unstable on consoles while the PC versions were fine, which was especially true for Witcher 3. However, because their games are so well received, most people either ignored this or forgot about it. When Cyberpunk 2077 was released with the exact same problems, it was to such an extreme degree that no one could ignore it anymore. In both situations, I can't help but think that both companies had a lot of consistent development issues that they ignored because their games were considered good until they released a bad game, which caused fans and the market to force them to address their own issues. This leads to my question. Does our praise and good ratings for a game, even if there are noticeable issues, eventually lead to bad games? And should both fans and critics put more emphasis on the problems with good games to avoid this? Thank you and stay safe.
No. I think each game is its own unique thing, you know, whether it turns out good or bad. Like each game, every time a game is developed, it's different problems arise and different, outcomes arise. There's also, because like some elements of the video game industry are kept secret, mainly like budgets and stuff, there's way less, I feel like, about who is actually making the video game. Like, we know about the director usually and the composer, but like there's so much key personnel that we don't like, that may have worked on Witcher 3 but not Cyberpunk. Like, I feel like in movies we know a lot about that stuff. We know a lot of the crew, who's on special effects, who's on the cinematographer, who's the screenwriter, like these key positions. I feel like with certain studios, like for example Rare, it's not the same Rare that it used to be, so why are we judging this Rare based on Banjo-Kazooie? Because
they're like, if it's not the same Rare, then why are you still calling yourself that? Like, a lot of people just
they're using the name as a shield.
It is without a doubt using the name to help rope you in,
Yeah. Which I think CD Projekt, they're not doing that, but like, But I remembered a bunch of Witcher 3 people like bounced off of Cyberpunk during development. You know, this thing took so long. Like people were coming and going. So who knows how important some of those behind the scenes people really are. Like there are so many unsung heroes that make a game great. And like people leave, people have other jobs. So it's an interesting question that I think about, just like a company's legacy for sure.
I definitely think there is a seed of truth in what this emailer is asking, but I think it just always comes down to, does the good outweigh the bad? And you know, you mentioned previous Bethesda games being buggy and Witcher 3 being buggy, which is true, but the consensus in both of those cases was that it was worth committing to or sticking with, because there was a lot of good things to find.
And to be fair, I played Witcher 3 on console, and it was buggy for a little over a month for sure.
Yeah.
But nowhere near Cyberpunk levels, nowhere near. I played them both on console.
Right. And, you know, I think in the cases of Fallout 76 and Cyberpunk, you know, looking at the launches of those, I think it was a level of severity that just could not be ignored, right? Again, the bad was outweighing the good depending on what you're looking at specifically. And so, but to this emailer's point, reading about Cyberpunk, I read that, like, in CD Projekt Red, they were like, oh, we made Witcher 3, we'll be fine. And on some level, you can understand that. I mean, that was like a universally praised game, and I'm sure it did maybe affect their mentality to some degree on some level at some position within the company. But that's not the audience's fault, I don't think. Like, I don't think back to previous Bethesda games or the praise of The Witcher 3, and I don't think to myself, like, oh, like, they didn't deserve it. Like, I do think those games deserved the praise that they got, and I don't think it's up to the audience for the developer to remain consistent or to advance as the times advance. Because you have to also keep in mind, right, that when you're talking about these games, it may have been their last one was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so what was getting praised, the expectations were different in that time. And as we advance forward, expectations and audience interests are going to change, and your tolerance for certain things are going to change as well. And so it can be difficult, I think, trying to put them on the exact same level when there's different circumstances surrounding individual releases.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why just commend Resident Evil so well, you know? When they stumble, they pivot. Resident Evil 6, out of that came Revelations and 7 and, you know, mixing it up.
Yeah.
Listening to the feedback and changing the vibes, changing it up.
Yeah, but it's so interesting, you know, being involved in this industry for a long time and seeing series have their high points and have their low points where everybody loves them and then everybody hates them and then everybody loves them again.
Totally.
So,
dude.
You know, nothing is set in stone. I don't think, like, by any means the book is closed on, like, Fallout as a series or CD Projekt Red as a company at all. Like,
gamers are the most ever, what have you done for me lately?
Yes, absolutely.
Or not even. Gamers are, what are you doing for me right now?
Yeah. Because it's an embarrassment of riches, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much to everybody who wrote in for the thoughtful emails. It's fun to go through. And thank you so much to my panelists, Michael Huber and Bradley Ellis.
Already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Damn.
Don't want to let you down.
All right. I'm just ready to keep talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Good stuff. You know, like, juicy topics, I feel like.
Yeah.
Juicy.
I'm very invested in remakes. You know.
True.
You have passion.
I'm very invested in this Outriders review right now. You guys got me with the good stuff.
If you would like to send in an email to Frame Trap, the email address is askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. Will also be in the description. If you want to find out more about us, you want Huber to keep talking, go to patreon.com/easyallies, where you can directly support us. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. And until next time.